The Now to Live show is your network connection to the spirit of sobriety.
I mean, I don't have any problem telling it. I mean, it doesn't bother me to tell my story. My story is my story, and it's truth. There's power in truth. My story starts on the 17th of June of 1989. I had just experienced maybe 3 or 4 days of constant drinking and doing cocaine to the point where it was almost like a binge. And I was in my apartment in Costa Mesa, California. I had no job. I had no money. I had no transportation other than a bicycle that was given to me. I had no food. And basically, I had no real friends. And I was brought to a level of despair. I was in my apartment and I couldn't stand up, I couldn't sit down, I couldn't lay down. I was crawling around on my hands and my knees because I was in such agony from the drugs and alcohol that I had been doing for the previous 3 or 4 days. Actually, really, what I wanted to do was just escape, and if that meant die, well, I was okay with that at that time. But something inside of me said, "Hey, you need to do something, and you need to do it now. And that is, you need to crawl over to your phone, and you got to call a 12-step program. At that time, it was Alcoholics Anonymous, and so that's what I did. So I crawled over to my phone. I picked up the phone. I called information. I got the phone number for AA. I called AA. I explained to them what was happening to me. And they said, where are you? And we're going to send somebody over to sit down with you and help you. They typically will send 2 people. But in this case, what happened was about an hour later, I hear this thundering knock on my door. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I mean, what is that? I crawled over to the door. I was able to prop myself up on the wall to stand up. I grabbed onto the door handle to lift myself up a little bit, and I was able finally to stand up on my own 2 feet. And I opened the door, and in my doorway was a gentleman who was 6'5", minimum 6'5", probably 350 pounds. He had a bib overalls on. He had hair down to his shoulders. He had a full beard, and he had a smile on his face. And I looked at him and I'm thinking, what is going on here? And he extended his hand. He says, my name is John, and I'm here to 12-step you. And I said, okay. So I let him come into my house, and he was by himself. Normally they send 2 people, but in this case, he said he tried to find somebody else to come with him. He couldn't find anyone, so he said, hey, I need to get there to help this guy. So he comes into my apartment, and we sit down. He starts talking about himself. He introduced himself. His name was John. He had 2 years of sobriety. I looked at him, and we had nothing in common whatsoever, other than the fact that I could look into his eyes, and his eyes were clear, and they were bright. And I looked at those eyes of his, and I said, you know what? I want that. I want what he has. And so he started to tell me his story. And he told me that at one time, he was a member of an organization called the JDL, which stands for the Jewish Defense League, which is a radical arm of the Jewish religion. And he was what was known as an enforcer, which meant that he was a pretty bad guy if he wanted to be. And he found that, because of his behavior in that environment and with those people, he became very addicted to drugs and alcohol, and his life had become very, very unmanageable, and he just did not like what was happening. And so he made a decision to get sober, which he did, and he was really working his program. And so then he proceeded to tell me his story about how when he got sober, he was directed to do the 12 steps, which he did with a sponsor. And he also was talking about some of the other books that he likes to read. And one of them he talked about was a book called A New Pair of Glasses. And A New Pair of Glasses, the title of it is, just kind of like shook me. As soon as he said he was reading a book called A New Pair of Glasses and he recommended it to me, it just impacted me like immediately. I had this epiphany in my own mind saying, that's what I need in my life. I need a new pair of glasses. My life's glasses are shattered. I can't see anything because of what I've done to myself in my life. And so therefore, I need a new pair of glasses. I need to get that book. I need to read that book. And so he took the time to really encourage me and let me know that, there is a way, there is a solution. He took me over to his sponsor's house. They could see that I was pretty close to going into a DT type scenario, or maybe a little bit of a convulsion type scenario. So his sponsor gave me two 800 milligram tablets of ibuprofen, a non-narcotic, just to settle me down a little bit and relieve my pain. And then they took me out and they got me something to eat. And then they brought me home to my apartment and they tucked me in bed. And then they said, we'll pick you up in the morning and we're going to take you to a meeting. So the next day, on the morning of the 18th of June of 1989, John and his sponsor came over to my apartment, picked me up, and took me to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous where I was able to feel protected and feel comforted by those who understood what I was going through. After the meeting, they all went out to breakfast, and they took me out to breakfast, and I was really embraced by the love and the compassion of those who really understand what it's about. They experienced it themselves in their own lives. And so I was starting to feel really like maybe there's a chance that I might have an opportunity to live a life, because at that juncture I wasn't sure if I was going to live or not. So they took me home. Quite honestly, I was really in need of getting a lot of rest, so I pretty much just lay down in bed and was just trying to sleep, and all of a sudden the phone rang. And so I go over to the phone and I pick it up, and it's a person that I knew from my addiction actually, but was a friend, and she just got this impression that she should reach out to me and see how I'm doing. And when I explained to her what was going on with me, she said, I don't have much, but I can send you $50 over the Western Union. And I said to myself, well, would you really do that? And she said, yes. And I said, man, $50 at that time for me was like $5,000. I had no food, I had no money, and I didn't know what the heck was going to happen to my life. She wired the money. I didn't know where the Western Union office was, so at that time, they referred to them as the Yellow Pages. I looked in the Yellow Pages and I found the Western Union in Costa Mesa, which was up off of 17th Street. I decided to get on my bicycle that was given to me and ride down Harbor Boulevard. And at that time, they were doing a lot of construction along that boulevard. I fell off my bike 2 or 3 times and I thought I was going to get killed and run over or whatever before I even got the money. But fortunately, I was able to go down Harbor, get up to 17th Street, get to the Western Union, and get the money. And as soon as I got the money, I started to get bombarded with my disease. It was saying, listen, man, you got $50. You can go out and get booze, you can get drugs. Nobody's going to know the difference. Nobody loves you. Your family has disowned you. Nobody cares about you. And I got so frightened. It was unbelievable how frightened I was. And I just started saying to myself, I need to get that book. I need to find that book. I need that book, The New Pair of Glasses. My life's glasses are shattered. I need to read that book. And so here I am, a 42-year-old, tongue-chewing, babbling idiot drunk, riding my beach cruiser. And I decided to go back another direction, which was a little less traffic-y. And I'm talking to myself. Now, you can just imagine seeing a 42-year-old man riding a bicycle, talking out loud to himself. I need that book. I need to get that book. I need that book. And there I was riding up Placentia, and I got up right close to Astensia High School, which is on Placentia. And I looked over and I saw the school, and about, I would say 150 feet in front of me, I saw something like a little package that was just sitting in the gutter next to the curb. As I rode my bike closer to it, I noticed that it was a package and it was like half opened. It was probably this size, nothing big. And I decided to get off my bike and pick it up, see what it is. So I got off my bike and I picked up the package, and it was half open, like I said. And so I decided to reach in to find out what's inside of there. So I reached in and I pulled out a book. And the book's name is A New Pair of Glasses. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because at that time I didn't know if there was a God. I had no idea if there was a God, and if there was a God, that God couldn't have any desire to be in my life. I was so reckless, and I did so many things wrong in my life. There's no way he could love me, and I just could not believe what I just experienced. And at that very moment, I understood that God lived, and that he had a desire for me to get sober and to live my purpose in life. And so what I needed to do was to listen to what he had to say to me. And what he said to me was, I am alive, I am God, I love you, and now you got to get to work. And what that meant was that I needed to get sober. So anyway, I was dumbfounded. I mean, seriously, I'm riding my bicycle and I'm saying I need to get that book, and all of a sudden, here's the book, and it's in a package all by itself, laying in the gutter. If I had any doubt that God lived, I don't have any doubt now because I know he does. And if I had any doubt that he loved me, I don't have any doubt now because I know he does. And guess what? I know he loves you as well. And this is why I'm sharing this story. It's a very personal story, but it's really important for you to understand my purpose in life is to do what I'm doing right now, and that's to reach out to help others. Yeah, so for the past 35 plus years, I've been doing my best to live the purposeful life that God asked me to live, and that is to help others to achieve the same things that I've been able to achieve in my life, through being of service to each other. And, I've had so many blessings in my life since that day on the 18th of June of 1989, just amazing blessings. In the same token, though, I've had some very, very difficult and sad experiences in my life as well, because you know what? That is life. But what it's done for me, my foundation has been so strong because of me living my purpose, which is to live the 12 steps of recovery, to not only work them, but to live them and to express how they can help others to do the same. No matter what it is in your life, I don't care how difficult it is, when you achieve the spiritual awakening that you receive from doing the 12 steps, your foundation is strong, and you will not fall off of it as long as you continue to live the 12 steps and to be of service.
Was there a time where you weren't as willing to share?
It wasn't that I was, that's an interesting question, because there was a time early on in my sobriety, especially. People who are early into the sobriety, they're still carrying some exhaust with them, right? They're bringing some non-sober exhaust, right? I was very hesitant to tell my story because of the spiritual connotation to it, how powerful that it was for me to find this book. This book is, come on.
Yeah.
I'm asking to get the book, and I need the book in order for me to find a way to live my life. And then, a mile and a half up the road, while I'm talking to myself, riding my bicycle, there's a package in the gutter all by itself. There's no traffic around whatsoever. I can remember it like it was yesterday. And here I reach in, and it's the book that I've been asking for. How can you not understand that God lives? How can you not understand that? I didn't make this happen. There's no way I could have made this happen. Some greater power had to make this happen. In my addiction, even though I was crawling around on my hands and my knees, if I wasn't ready, if I didn't have that desire, and that's really the essence of what we need to talk about tonight, is the desire. If I didn't have that desire, then that spiritual thread would not have been connected. There's no way, okay? Because I would have been immersed in my own ego. This is the copy I found. This is what I wrote in it. This is exactly what I wrote in it. On Father's Day, June 18th, 1989, my second day back in AA, I found this book while riding my bike on Placentia Road. in Costa Mesa, California. This day I found my God. Thank you, God. I love you and I surrender to you, Dad. I knew he was my father. And I said, Happy Father's Day to him. And I signed it, your son, James Kennedy. And I also put P.S. Thank you, Chuck C. This is written about Chuck Chamberlain, who was a guru. So I met him spiritually as well. All right? As a matter of fact, his son, just a couple of days ago, passed away at 90 years old. His son was Richard Chamberlain, the actor. So, anyway, 35 years later, almost 36, be 36 in June. If I make it, one day at a time, I'm staying true. I'm staying true to that, my North Star, which is to live my purpose in life, and that is to reach out and help others.